Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to You've Championed Yourself. Who are you? I'm Chris Ferguson, your host. It has always been a dream of mine to showcase ordinary people doing extraordinary things in their life and for others. Those who have taken their dreams and their ideas and turned it into their reality. As they reach beyond their personal struggles, their pains, their traumas, where so many people gave up, they lose hope. There are the few that can walk through their obstacles and pass their challenges. They don't know where they're going. They don't know where it's going to take them. They trust themselves enough not to give up, to do the follow through in their personal life, their career, and in relationships. This is what I call a champion in life. Today, I have an amazing lady with me. Her name's Kristal Murren. She is the Bossy Girl, and I want to welcome her to the podcast. Hi.
Hello there. Thank you for having me, Chris.
I'm so excited. I'm honored. I truly, truly am. It's so loving. And for a person that's retired, that has walked many miles that you have walked, I love seeing that other women are carrying that torch too. And they're carrying the torch for other people. So I honor you for doing that because a lot of women don't, and they don't help out other women. And so can we, starting from your backstory, how you went from then to now, or then to becoming the Bossy Girl?
Absolutely. It's so funny. Whenever I hear, even when people introduce me and I hear the words bossy girl back to myself, I get to the point where I think, oh my word, I wonder what the listeners are thinking right now. Because as I've gone through my walk as the bossy girl, what I've gotten back so many times is people will say to me, but Kristal, I don't understand. You're not even bossy. Why are you doing this to yourself? And my question is always, well, my response is always a question. And the question is this, but am I really not bossy? Or am I not the bossy that you think of? And so my backstory started really about 5 years ago. Now, I've been teaching leadership and character development for almost 20 years now. Most of my work is in government. I've been a facilitator and a public speaker, and I was fairly successful at government contracting and moving my mission forward to build leaders that other people want to follow. That was my mission. But 5 years ago, I was driving to work and I was stopped at a red light and I was hit from behind by a truck at 55 miles an hour. At that time, I didn't know it, but my life would never, ever be the same again. So I ended up with a traumatic brain injury. I started having seizures. I lost all my memory. I could no longer read and write. And I was a single mom of a 9-year-old little girl at the time.
Wow.
So, as you can imagine, life got really, really weird. And I had always been a successful person that others looked to for advice and inspiration, I became a part of the system that could not take care of myself. And I was looking to my 9-year-old daughter to lead our household. It was a horrific situation. And it only really got more challenging as time went on because it just didn't seem that there were answers for me. The more neurologists I went to, the more doctors I saw, the more I just realized that, you can go and you can break your back and somebody will know how to fix it. When you break your brain, nobody knows what to do. There isn't anything. The only solutions I was being given was you're going to need to sit in a dark room and you're going to have to try to not think. No screens. I mean, imagine for a moment that for months, no cell phone, no television, no reading. The only thing I was allowed to do was color and cook. And it was just an extraordinary experience. And what happened and how the Bossy Girl was born was one day I went into the neurologist's office and He was so excited to see me, and he was holding a piece of paper, and he said, Kristal, you won't believe it. This is fantastic. And I said, what? What's so good? And he said, you just tested in the 30th percentile for your cognitive ability. And that's almost average. So you're fine now. You can go on with your life. It's great. And I was like, excuse me? And at the time, I still was unable to drive. I could not read any substantial amount. I could read words at that point, but not long pages or anything. And I was like, excuse me? And he said, we're done here. You don't need any more therapy. Everything is great. You're almost average. You made it. And I was like, I just looked at him for a moment and it hit me. And I looked at him and I said, if this was your son sitting in this office, would you have the same advice? Would almost average be good enough for your son, for your daughter, for your people? Is that okay? Is almost average good enough? And he looked at me and he just looked perplexed. And I said to him, listen, you need to understand something. You don't know me and I don't know you, but this is what I can tell you. You will never tell me what I am and I am not capable of. And you will never stop me from achieving my goals and making the world a better place. It's never going to happen. And what happened in that moment is he looked at me and he said, well, aren't you bossy? And I knew that I never wanted that for my daughters, for your daughters, or for anybody else who's sitting in the doctor's office or in any place of authority and being told or looked at like you're less than. Because you're a female, you have a mission, and you're willing to speak truth to power. When you think about the word bossy, really, my mission to redefine this word is so crucial because when you think about the word bossy, typically we aren't using that word for women who are a bitch.
No.
We aren't using that word. Typically, we're using it because there's a woman who has a mission. She's willing to use her voice and she's female. That's bossy.
And she can be assertive enough to get her point across. And it's when assertive gets turned into aggressive.
That's it. And aggressive is a bitch. When I'm taking from you for my own benefit, that's different. When I'm taking from you or I'm building myself off of your back or not allowing you to achieve your dreams because of what I want, that's a bitch. Bossy is different. Bossy is different. And together, Chris, strong ladies like us can make a dent in this.
And I know that. And that's why when you agreed to come on here, I was so excited because it's like, whoo, she's got the torch now. It's hers. I've done my part. I stood up for women. I stood up for times when women were getting shorted. And I was in a position of leadership that I had a voice where they didn't have a voice. And it is standing up and it is stepping up. And so that's why when you agreed to it, I was like, yes, yes. But I'd like to talk to you as a female and as a leader. How do you become that servant leader?
This is a really tough thing. And I will just be really honest. I talk a lot about how much leadership sucks. And you know what? That's hard to hear and it's hard to say. But if there's anything that I'm about, if you can imagine somebody who's willing to call herself the bossy girl is somebody that's going to be pretty real. And leadership, if you're really leading, it means being willing to sacrifice yourself for others. Being willing to put someone else's mission above your own. Being willing to make someone better tomorrow than they are today. And you will never make someone better tomorrow than they are today with just power and a position. You make someone better with sacrifice and service. And the challenge with that is biologically, we are engineered to avoid discomfort. We avoid fear, we avoid shame, we avoid looking in the mirror and doing what's hard. I'm not pointing fingers. It's legitimately how we're
Mhm.
made, because we are made to survive. And leadership goes against those natural predispositions.
Yes.
In addition, it's very difficult to find real leaders in the workplace. Oftentimes, when you talk to executives or people with power and you ask them to talk about somebody who's really sacrificed for them or put their needs first, they might be able to cite an example of their mother. They might be able to cite an example of, a mentor or somebody that they met growing up, or a grandparent or someone of that nature. But typically, they're not going to talk about their boss. Servant leadership changes that. That's
Mhm.
how servant leadership is different.
I love that. I love that. But let's talk about the courage it takes to be able to stand up and speak up,
Oh, yeah.
because there's a lot of fear with that.
There really is. There really is. And for you to have that insight, I know, is because of the extensive experience that you've had making a difference in people's lives. So I think that's beautiful, and I commend you, first of all. Absolutely. And I love the name Fergie. Is it okay if I can use that?
It's I've been that for 40 years. I was Fergie before Fergie made it popular. Okay.
I love it. I really do. I love it. It's perfect. But the thing about the courage to speak truth to power is, what we really have to look at is we have to make a choice. We all have a choice on the table that we have the opportunity to make. And only you can make this choice. No one can do it for you. And the choice is, are you going to choose to be courageous? Do you want to be victorious, or do you want to be a victim? You have a choice to be courageous. Now, these are the stakes. I'm going to tell you why I believe it's worth the pain that our brain tries to make us avoid. So, facing the fear, having the courage, and doing the hard thing in the short term is incredibly painful. But if you don't do what's right and do it quickly, do it swiftly, make it happen, and speak up, that pain is something that's going to hang on you. It's something
Mhm.
that's going to drag on. These are the kinds of pains that we carry and that change who we are. These are the kinds of pains that create depression, anxiety. These are the kinds of things that make you say, you know what? I'm not going to the gym. I'm going to go ahead and eat this sandwich instead, because I just need something to take away this discomfort, something to immediately soothe me.
Mhm.
If instead we have the courage to do what's right and speak truth to power, we can love ourselves and come from a healthy place. So I'm never claiming that it's easy.
Mhm.
And I know oftentimes there are people like you, Fergie, like me, that have a natural tendency to be willing to put ourselves in the fire.
Without question.
Not everybody has that. And we all know, we all are programmed for either fight or flight. There's also freeze, but
Yes.
we can't control how we're programmed. And so I would guess both you and I are programmed to fight.
Mhm.
We run into the fire, not away
Mhm.
from it,
No,
right?
we don't. We don't. We went to it.
Many of us run away from the fire. And actually, that's very okay too. Because when we run away from the fire, we have time to create strategy for how we go back and face it, as long as we understand the value of facing it.
I was just going to say, because when you were saying that, all I could think of was like the stories we tell ourselves to accept our bad behavior and our choices so we feel better. So, what's that story? Because a lot of people, when they are in victimhood, that is the thing that they do.
Yes.
And that gets you even more stuck beyond belief, because that becomes your reality and that's what you rely on. And then that's a toilet bowl flush, in my opinion.
Oh my word. Well, I mean, and you've probably gone through this too. I've seen a lot of challenges. And what people would say to me would be things like, just rest, just relax, don't push, Kristal, you've earned this. You've worked so hard. Just relax. You know what? I'm 37 years old. Not right now. I'm 42 right now, but I was 37 years old at the time. I have a lot of life left to live. And, I can leave my jammies on and stay on the couch and nobody would blame me.
Right.
But is that the life that you really, really want? I mean, deep down, we all have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
We were all put on this earth for something, and we were made for something that's bigger than ourselves. And let me tell you, you're not going to find it in your jammies in your bed.
Or watching TV.
Yeah, that's not where it's waiting for you. And oftentimes, where it's waiting for you is someplace that is incredibly difficult to walk through to get there. But it's there.
Yeah. It is. It is true. And that's all very, I love it. I always refer to real, raw, and rare. That's how I've always been in my life.
Yeah.
Real, raw, and rare.
Yeah.
But the one thing I want to talk with you about is helping my audience understand how to go from, oh, I flight. How can I stand in my power? How can I become authentic?
Oh, my word. So this is the first thing. We all think that it's super easy to just be authentic, just be real. It's not like that. It's just not. And what's so sad and hard, you think, well, like, I am a person, so I'll just be me and that's real. That's actually not how it works. So often what we show to the world and what we think is, in quotes, us, or what we think is, quote, real, are the filters that we've created based on the experiences and the expectations that have been put on us, whether by the people around us or our environment. It's not actually who we are. Unfortunately, the process of becoming authentic is you have to go through a deep search to find yourself through all of those filters and experiences that you've experienced and created. We have paradigms, we have shame, we have fear, we have all of these things that have created these masks that we wear. And oftentimes these masks are in layers and we have to take them off one at a time. We take one off and we think we found it. And then we figure out, oh my gosh, there's another one. And we take that one off. And then we have to get to the next one. And the only way we can get to the point where we can take these masks off and be real and be authentic, because, these are the buzzwords right now. When we get to the point we can take these off, then the only way we do that is through courage. And courage is a choice to decide to go through pain for all the right reasons. So there's one, you make a choice of courage. The second thing that you have to do is you need to find somebody that can help you look in the mirror. And not just anybody, just to be really clear. So for instance, my very best friend in the whole wide world is my mom. She's a saint walking on earth, and she's the most incredible woman I've ever known. But my mom is not who I'm going to go to when I'm trying to find my authenticity. Why? Because my mom tells me how wonderful I am. And guess what? I want her to keep doing that.
I love that. I love that because I always tell people, let's reflect here. What did you do as a teenager that your parents don't know you did?
Yeah.
Do you really want them to find out now? What would that do for their perception?
Well, and that's the thing. We all need a cheerleader. The world is already hard. And I'm hopeful that everyone on here listening right now has someone that will tell you that you can do anything. And if you don't have somebody like this, I'd like you to just listen to me for one moment. And I didn't plan to do this. I don't even do this, but it's just striking me that people need to hear this right now. You can do anything that you set your mind to. No one can tell you you can't. You are loved. You are worthy. You are chosen. You have been put here for a purpose. Somebody needs you. You might feel like the world is a place where you're alone and where there's nowhere for you to go, but it's not true. There's somebody that loves you. And I want you to know that you make the world a better place. So, but you have to find who you are. And when you do that, it will be beautiful. So if you don't have somebody that tells you that, I just did. Okay. So you can't say you don't have anybody because I just did. But
Right.
when you're looking for your authenticity, don't go to that person. Go to the person who you know will kick your butt. Go to the person who you know, like Miss Fergie over here, that will look you in the face and say, you know what? I love you, but you are really out of line right now. I love you, but you need to get up and actually do something and work for what you want. I love you, but we need to actually move further in this direction because what you're doing right now is self-destructive or whatever it happens to be.
Right. Right.
You need to go to someone who will speak the truth to you. And what I would encourage you to do is a number 3 thing. So number 3, go to that person and ask them, if you knew that I was made for something amazing, what would that thing be? See what they say. Just wait. Just let them speak. You could also ask them something like, if you had to describe my superpower, what do you think that would be? And how could I use that in the world? And let them speak. But go to someone who you know will tell you the truth. Also, don't go to someone who will beat you up needlessly. Go to someone who will speak to you to your benefit.
I love that. I love that. But you brought up the superpower. So I'm curious, Kristal, what's your superpowers?
I have a desired superpower, and then I have what my real superpower is. So I really, really want to be Wonder Woman. Okay. And when I'm Wonder Woman, I would add to her powers, and I want to make her a healer. I want to be able to touch people and heal them. That is my dream. So in real life, I have superpowers as well. And what I try to do is use them to create my magical superpower that's not actually real. So my superpower is to connect with people. I oftentimes can understand them more deeply than they can understand themselves. I oftentimes know what decision they're going to make before they know what decision they're going to make, only because I study human behavior. Our brains are all wired certain ways, and we unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we all fit in boxes that can help us to predict and understand where people are going to go and why that's important. If you want to lead and influence in this world, you're going to have to meet your people where they are. So often I have leaders tell me, but Kristal, I'm the leader. What I want them to do. My response is always, how's that working for you? Right?
Exactly.
But you want to be a servant leader. And if you want to be a leader that other people want to follow, you have to understand them. You have to get the tools to understand them. If that's something you don't know, I would be happy to help. And I'm not speaking to you directly, Fergie. I'm speaking to your people.
No, I absolutely understand. And I'm going to make sure they have your information to contact you too.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to help. But what you have to be able to do is meet people where they are.
And see, I love that because the fact is a long time ago, I learned that it's not what you communicate, it's what they comprehend. And so most people don't understand that because they want to say, well, I'm going to communicate to you this, this, and this. Well, that's from your experience. That's from your perception, your understanding. So how are you going to communicate it to me that I, at a different level, different experience, different life situations, how am I going to comprehend what you're saying? If you're, my husband's been in parochial school his entire life, including college.
Wow.
Very lucky. But his vernacular is extremely high. He can stump most English professors.
That's great.
Yeah. But for me, I'm not an English professor. I was a jock. I
Right.
was the swimmer. I was the physical one. I was the one trying to survive. Vocabulary, mine was sailor understanding. And so the fact is that when you use terms, to me, I don't feel bad. It's just like I don't understand.
Right.
But it doesn't make me less of a person. It's just I don't understand. So if I have to ask you, I will.
Absolutely.
And
And
then that's going to
that's
make you feel
good.
bad because now you're not communicating with me, you're communicating at me. And there is a difference. And that was the message I just got out of everything that you just said, because it is about the comprehension level of the person you're speaking to.
It truly is. It truly is. And you can never understand where anyone else is coming from or what they are walking through. You never ever know. You might have gone through something similar. You might have an idea of who they are because, we are both right brained. We are both feelers. We're both intuitors, whatever it happens to be. So I think I know, or I'm also divorced, or I'm also a single mom. We oftentimes think that because we can relate, that we understand, but we
Mhm.
never ever do. And that's why it's super important to learn how to ask the questions, just like you just said, Chris. It's to be able to say, okay, that makes sense to me. Tell me how that felt for you, or
Mhm.
tell me what you think about that. And
Mhm.
that's how you begin to build connection. And that's the superpower that changes the world.
It
Connect.
does, but then you also, the one thing that I was hoping you would have said, because you build trust.
Hmm.
And now all of a sudden they can relate to you as a leader. So now they're going to follow you. They're going to be loyal to you because you took the time to speak with them on their level.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And when you have trust, I mean, that's the foundation that any relationship is built on, let alone a leadership follower relationship. If you have trust, you have it all. And everything else can be built from there. Doesn't matter if you're the jock and the English teacher. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
and I agree. Absolutely. The one thing that I wanted to ask you about is, what are you working on now in your world as Miss Bossy Girl?
Oh my goodness. So there are several things I'm working on, and things are getting kind of crazy, which is exciting. But I am in the process of putting the final workings on my book. I have been published in other books. Here's one. So I'm actually an international bestseller at this moment. This is The Art of Connection, and my book will be called Beautifully Bossy. It's not out yet, but it will be soon. And I'm building a community of women who want to learn how to understand leadership at a deeper level. And that includes servant leadership and becoming a leader that other people want to follow. So we use the tools of understanding human behavior to build influence situations, not only at work, but also at home. So on my website, www.bossygirl.org, you can go on and you can join the community. It's only $23 a month, which is really nothing. And you go live with me once a week, and we talk about these kinds of issues. And you can actually have coaching directly, one on one, as a woman with me, because most of my services are actually provided to large scale organizations and government organizations. And I was having people approach me and say, but what if I just want your services, or I want to learn from you and work with you? What do I do? And I didn't have a solution for that. So this is the solution. If you're listening and you want to be a little bit more bossy, or you're really bossy and you need to learn how to rein that in a little bit, I'd love for you to join me. Check out bossygirl.org.
I love that. I love that because you gave out 3 tips before, but I ask this of all the people I interview, to sit back, take a deep breath in, close your eyes, and we're going to get in touch with your 5-year-old inner child.
Mm.
What would she say about you today from then?
What would she say about me, or what would she say to me?
Either or.
I'm just trying to decide if these are action steps or descriptors.
Usually descriptors.
Okay. Um, I think that she would say that I am courageous. I think that she would say that I am all in. I think she would say I'm passionate and inspirational, and I think she would say that she's proud of me.
Yes, but she also would say you are her hero because you never gave up on those times when you had those split seconds in your world that you just didn't know what was next. You didn't know what was happening. You didn't know where to go or how to go. And so you had that instant thought, and then all of a sudden you had that next instant thought says, that's not me. That's not my thoughts. That's my fears.
Yes.
And because you've pushed past your fears, you've become my hero. Because of that, you have championed yourself in life when you didn't know you were a champion.
Absolutely. And I only am a hero and a champion because I can love her.
Mm-hmm. But it is, you brought up shadow work, going within and talking. I've been a shamanic practitioner for 45 years, so I know the caves.
Mm.
And it's very, very important because it's not only the mask you take off, but it's the mask that you come with next that you put back on. And when you get so clear with yourself like you have, you're not ashamed. You don't take on the blame. You don't take on the guilt. You don't take on regrets because you have no fear to walk through the threshold.
Oh.
And many times it is that first step that people can make a change in their life.
And Chris, what you just said is so powerful. And I think, especially even with our opening and how I said that people will say, Kristal, why would you even call yourself this? You're making your life really hard. And it's amazing because when you can get to the point where people now will call me bossy and they mean it in a negative way, my only response is thank you. And I genuinely mean it. It's a beautiful reminder of exactly who I am, a woman on a mission with a voice. And I am working to go first in owning that so that I can shine my light and other women feel free to do the same.
And it's even more than that because it's how we make the example of ourselves that other people can model after.
Yeah.
And in that, they're a role model. And that's one of the titles you haven't given yourself that you very much are.
Oh,
And that's encouraging because there's so many women nowadays that get caught up in all kinds of craziness and thoughts, and they have no real foundation. And all of a sudden they get out in the adult world and they can't figure out why it's not working in their favor anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as a role model, I want to honor you in that position because so many people nowadays needs that. I mean, it's been chaos since my birth. I mean, I was 4 years old when John F. Kennedy was murdered. And I remember sitting there and watching all the adults cry and couldn't understand what was going on. But when you see a servant leader and then they are, sacrificed for whatever reason, it just empowers you to want to be more like them.
It does. It does. And that's a legacy. It's amazing because there's only so much you can do with your own two hands. But when you sacrifice yourself for other people and for their mission and for their greater good, your legacy lives on in them long after it would ever live on with the things that you keep for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's seeing their growth that is your reward. Mm-hmm. That the time that you invested in them was well worth every ounce of it.
Absolutely.
Kristal, I want to thank you for being here today. It's been my honor and pleasure to have you. And I'm excited just to bring you back here in 6-8 months to see what you're doing, how you're doing. So if you can hang on just a second.
Sure.
It takes a special kind of individual to dream their thoughts, their ideas, and turn it into their realities. Kristal has just done that. She passed all of her fears. She passed all of her challenges. She passed every obstacle that came to her. She stayed the course. She had the courage to do the follow through. Kristal, you've championed yourself. We now know who you've become. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, your ideas, your dreams, and your programs with us here today.